Good morning and welcome to the Orlando Real Estate Buzz. I'm Brendan Rendo with the Homes in Orlando team and joined as always by Joseph Dion of Apley Home Loans. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning. How are you rocking today?
I'm kind of looking forward to a 3-day weekend. I'm hoping I get to enjoy maybe one.
Don't get maybe 4 hours. Let's not shoot for the moon and ask for a day. We're going to give you 4 hours.
Oh, thank you. That is so sweet of you. So sweet of you. Coming to the end of August, which of course is a little bit slower news period, but we do have some stuff coming out today. We have our jobless claims report coming out, our GDP report coming out. Mm-hmm. Good news on the mortgage end rates wise right now. A little bit of sunlight being shown there. And then we're going to look at some interesting numbers in the Central Florida area. Went a little outside just our normal reporting and just to show what it looks like for homes 60 days or more on the market right now. Ooh. So it's interesting. Let's put it at that. So again, welcome to the Orlando Real Estate Buzz. All right, Joe, what do you say we start off with jobless claims numbers?
Jobless claims, they were great.
Actually, not bad. I mean, they haven't revised them yet. But overall, I mean, not bad. We actually saw a decrease in the number of jobless claims. Mm-hmm. And we saw a small decrease in the number of long-term jobless claims. That's so, true. Pretty steady, things headed in the right direction. Powell came out last week and kind of seemed like he was putting a little more emphasis on the jobless claims than on the inflation number last week. I thought it was very interesting that they kind of threw out the average inflation number last week.
Yeah, they did. But notice, we go to this all right, well, now we're really focusing on jobless, and now we just see a small improvement. And I was like, are we laying groundwork? Is this groundwork for why we're not going to cut?
That was interesting because that was kind of what I thought. You look at that. I mean, so the numbers, we're pretty steady. We're not going to worry about the average inflation rate right now, of course, right? But then we got our GDP numbers this morning. And we got a pretty good GDP number this morning. 3.3% growth is nothing to sneeze at.
Doesn't feel like anything anybody's been saying.
Yeah. I mean, we're headed into a recession. Everything's gonna start to bottom out. But you got a GDP growth that's 3.3%. And interesting, the thing that really kind of helped push it up is what Trump has been saying all along is we need to export more than we import. Mm-hmm. And that number has really started to adjust where the imports have steadily declined. I mean, we're still in a trade deficit with the whole world, which I don't know if we'll ever get back to a true balance. Mm-hmm. But what he's trying to achieve is knock that number down quite a bit. And that's really kind of what we're seeing is, hey, we're definitely not importing as much as we have been over the past couple of years. And as long as we continue to do more, increase the exports, even, slightly by importing less, it makes that GDP number look very, very healthy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're looking at this and I'm kind of like, okay, if my GDP is that strong, my job number's that strong, and I don't have to worry about inflation, are you cutting?
Probably. Maybe. Kinda. I don't know. I feel like, if we sit there and say we go, negative 0.5 for first quarter, 3.3 for second. So technically, we only averaged out to what is that, a 1.4% growth over
Yeah.
the 6 months? Which like is well below what, but that's probably more in line with what we are if we were to go on an annual number. That's I don't know. Like I'm really curious, and I could see the potential for us holding to see what Q3 numbers look like before
Mhm.
making a decision.
Yeah, I just he left the door open so slightly last week. I mean,
Yeah.
so slightly. But he's so good at covering his butt over or what decision he makes one way or another. You know? And you gotta love Powell because I mean he just sits there with monotone, straight face and and
I mean, right now, Powell's got to love Cook. Uh, all the attention's off of him now.
oh, no kidding. No kidding. I'm curious because this is nothing but this is gonna be a court battle because the Supreme Court has already said that he can't fire.
Yeah.
If
And
people
she's
believe
already
that.
sued. I think she
Yep.
announced this morning, Lisa Cook filed suit against.
Yep. Yep.
So, but like as a mortgage guy, if there's actual accusations that she potentially committed mortgage fraud,
Mm-hmm.
that's a concern for someone that's, for anybody, but that's definitely a concern for someone that's sitting on in a Fed chair,
No
like a
kidding.
Fed.
No kidding. But I mean, when we look at it, the betting tables haven't changed that much. This is as of this moment. If we take and refresh it a little bit,
Ooh, we're refreshing.
yeah,
Bam.
we actually jumped about 2 points, 2%.
There we go. There we go.
You know,
And
since
we
early
saw a
this
little
morning.
bit of a wobble last week, didn't we? We saw it went from
Yeah.
like 85 down to like 68, and like now it's back up.
Yep. So I mean, I think people are just getting more confident that the Fed's going to do that quarter point drop. You see a lot of people predicting they're going to do one in October, do one in November. So kind of interesting. I don't know if they'll go that far. I just think Powell is still on the hawkish side as opposed to the dove.
Well, what's going to be interesting, and this is for for most people, if you're a consumer and you know that the Fed fund rate is potentially going to drop, that means everybody else does too, which we're going to see this, and we're going to experience a lot of this, and I'm already encountering this. Yep. I talk to people and they go, I don't want to do anything until middle of September after the Fed's cut rates. And I joke because I'm just like, hey, like I'm going to let you in on a little secret. If you know about it, we know about it. And we're already factoring that, which is why most of the time you see rates kind of actually pop up a little bit after a Fed rate cut. That's because true. It was already baked into everything.
Very true. I mean, and if you look at it, I mean, it's been kind of nice because, we've kind of hit, some lows we haven't seen in a while. According to Mortgage News Daily, we're sitting average about 6.5, which is much better than where we were, a month ago. We're sitting up around 7.
Yeah.
We got our 10-year, coming back down to around that 4.22 percentage. So we've seen a little decrease in that. But like you said, sometimes you see it go up a little bit. And this is what a lot of people don't realize is the Fed fund rate and treasuries are two totally separate things. And one doesn't necessarily drop and one doesn't necessarily correlate with a decrease in the other. I mean, I was listening to another gentleman this morning. He brought it up. France, which is part of the EU, the EU Central Bank has had multiple rate cuts over the past year. I believe it's 4 or 5 rate cuts. And if you look at theirs since December, their 30-year was sitting at 3.39. They're up to 4.38 right now. They're almost a full percentage point higher on their 30-year bonds from when they started the overnight rate cuts, their Fed their Fed cuts. So
Mhm.
it doesn't necessarily correlate. And what's the reason for this? Because they're actually in a worse position than we are right now, debt wise. They've got a serious crisis. So they're having to borrow more because of the debt problem that they're having. And what happens anytime you've got to borrow more to service your debt is the cost of that money continually goes up. And that's my biggest fear with where mortgage rates may go is, like you said, you've got people, I'm going to wait, because it could head in the other direction. Because
Mhm.
remember, we've still got several $trillion that we have to refinance before the end of the year.
Yeah.
And they've still got about $1 trillion they need to borrow as well to cover the debt. So there's going to be a lot of funds out there, a lot of T-bills floating out there, and Japan's not buying them anymore. China's not buying them anymore, and Russia's not buying them anymore. So where's all those funds going to come to purchase all this debt, all this refinancing?
Chase, Wells Fargo, Bank of the Americas.
Could that be why they got rid of that one little rule earlier this year on reserves?
Could be interesting.
I think that's completely why they did it, because Bassett saw that foreign investments in treasuries was going down. So I've got to be able to provide some liquidity to purchase these. And
Yeah.
what do the banks normally purchase with those reserve funds? A lot of times treasuries.
Yep.
So now if they don't count towards your reserves and you don't have to set aside that 10%, guess what? You've got that 10% to now buy additional bonds.
Boom. I like this. We're figuring it out.
Yep.
Smart.
Yeah. So that's just it's interesting to see overall where those things are going. So, and then other things that are going on, we're still, it's just been slow numbers all month with
Mhm.
everything. But when we look at the Orlando numbers, it's flatlined. Somebody get out the paddles and hit it, something. Consistently, again, we're in that 400 homes per week number of sales. Inventory holding steady, not moving up, not moving down. I expect this number to start moving downwards because you're going to see less new sales come on the market, simply because towards the end of the year, less listings typically come on the market. And if you look graphically, that's normally typical. Condos were sitting in the same place as we usually are. And then our inventory, we're holding steady at 5 months worth of inventory. And our original to final list price, you're averaging about $24,000 off the original list price. And our percentage wise, original list of sales, we're sitting below 93% at 92.66. So that's a lot off where people are originally pricing their houses. And then when we get into the above $1 million, this number is consistently pushing down. I don't think I've seen it above 92% the entire year. And this past week, you're sitting at a 10% discount, averaging over $200,000 off the original list price on $1 million home, which I believe, I know I've got a couple custom home builders that I do some stuff with, and they've got $1 million homes sitting in Winter Park, sitting in Lake Mary, and they are getting absolutely zero interest. No showings, no interest whatsoever on these homes. And then we saw average days on market jump up to 71, which is typical for this time of year. Again, August tends to be a little bit slower overall, but you never want to see those days on market shoot up. And here it is graphically. It's flat, about as flat as you can probably get overall. And then you see our inventory, we're up nearly 25% for the year, and that grew, and now we've kind of leveled off again a little bit there. And then this was interesting because the red line here are your short sales, and you're starting to see short sales pick up quite a bit. I think we've discussed, I felt that foreclosures may not pick up, but the short sales will. And short sales, when you go through and you look at short sales, again, it's those people who've been in their homes 2, 3, maybe 4 years tops, where they're newer homes. The development is done or nearly done. Prices haven't gone up. Builders have started to cut their prices. And all of a sudden someone's got to get out quickly, and the house is not appraising for what they even bought it for. They may be down $10,000-$20,000. So I'm expecting over the next 6 months that short sale number is going to continue to pick up, and we're going to see more and more of that. Then here in the condos, this has been a broken record, for the past 8 months of inventory. We got 8 months worth of inventory. Original list, the sales price is sit at 92%. This I thought was interesting. The under 250,000. Look at this, 87.26%. People are slashing the prices of their condos to get them sold because they can't. They're just sitting so many days on market. Look at this. For the 250K, you're 108 days on the market. That's a long time. A long time. And again, graphically, here you go. But I kind of did something today because I was working on building out some new web pages, right? And I was going to do a 60-day plus web page for each county. So I was running the numbers to see how many houses was going to be on it, because the web page can only handle so many houses. But look at this, Joe. Orange County. This is just active single-family homes.
So active single-family. So this isn't multifamily. This isn't condos. This is just single-family homes.
Yep. No townhomes, just single-family homes. That's all it is. Right now, there's 2,455 active on the market. Of those, 1,455 are over 60 days on the market. That is a nearly 60% of all listings in Orange County are over 60 days on the market.
Yeah. And we're talking about, we've had conversations about this where the average life cycle, 60, if you were to say 60 days ago, 2 decades ago, early 2000s or before that, right? Not really that big of a deal. But the buy cycle has shortened for the sales cycle because how easy it is to get information out, the internet, listing showings, that it's really, like we said, we've talked a lot about this, like 30 days is kind of like a long listing now, a lot of times.
Yep.
So 60, it feels like an eternity for most people.
Yeah. Sellers get antsy at 30 days. Can you imagine the stress they're feeling now at 60, 90, 120 days? It's got to be driving them nuts. Yeah. Then here's Seminole County.
A little bit better.
County, yep. Seminole County's 1,076 total single-family homes. Of that, 532 have an average of over 60 days. That's a 50% of all homes are over 60 days right now. And then looking at Volusia County. Volusia County's got 2,455 total single-family homes currently listed. Of that, 1,455 have average days on market over 60. That is nearly 55% of the listings are over 60 days on the market. That's huge. That's huge. And this is where I think, when you're talking to those buyers, is a quarter point going to make that much a difference if you can negotiate it in the price? Because to me, this is a huge opportunity for buyers. When you look at these numbers overall and you understand how long these properties have been on the market, I normally tell people, look at houses 60 days or older. I'm going to start telling them, look at houses 90 days and over, because those are going to be our biggest opportunities to really negotiate what we want. And the builders are still doing the crazy incentives that we've mentioned for the past 3 or 4 months as well. So for the buyers, there's a lot of things so in their favor right now to get off the sideline. And if you work your numbers right and you have you look at the data with all these homes, 54% in Volusia County, 50% in Seminole County, 59% in Orange County over 60 days. I'm asking my agent, pull me a list of all the houses over 60 days. And those are the ones we want to look at first, because those are going to be our best opportunities to negotiate something, to catch that seller at that point where, hey, if this is what I got to do to get rid of it. And we've seen it in the percentages continually drop original list to sales price.
Yep.
There's a lot of opportunity out there for these buyers to really start taking advantage now through the end of the year. You don't necessarily have to wait for those rate cuts. And again, we may not see rates drop any further depending on how the debt situation goes. So if you're a buyer, reach out. I think there's a lot of opportunities for you. I really, really do, all over the place right now.
I agree.
So that's it for today. Thank you for joining us on the Orlando Real Estate Buzz. Thank you, Joe. As always, if you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, please like, subscribe, and share this with your friends. And we're here every week to keep you updated on both the national and local real estate business industry. Take care. Have a blessed day. Bye-bye.